So, BB is the starting point. Then from BB we start our counter for three values. So this is 1, this one is 2, and this one is 3. So this node is deleted. Then we will start our count from the next, because this is a circular linked list. So we'll start our counter from there. We'll count this 1, this 2, and this 3. So this will be deleted. Then I will start my counter from this again, 1, then this is 2. Since the picture after deletion of this node, the picture will be like this. So this is 1, this is 2, and then this is 3. So I will delete this one. Okay, so finally only one node left in this linked list, circular linked list. So this node is called the winner node. This node is called the winner node. So again the logic is like this. You have to, there is a circular linked list with some values. First you have to ask for a starting position. User will enter some starting position, so you will search for that particular starting position, and then you will stop at that starting position. Then user will ask to give one count value, so user will use that count value to delete the node one by one, and finally the last node that is left inside the circular linked list is called the winner node. You see, this is called Josephus problem because this is a problem which is actually done in some war where there are some soldiers left and only one horse is left, and the name of the horse is Josephus. So who will take that horse and flew away from the battlefield, that will be decided on this type of you can say this type of mechanism. And we in our childhood days, when we play this hide and seek, we always try to use this type of things, abducting, like count and then one person go away. So same procedure is used here, and this is used to take the horse Josephus from the battlefield. There are many soldiers left, and who will take the horse and run away or flew away from the battlefield is decided with this mechanism. So that's why this problem is called Josephus problem, and this is one classical example of circular linked list, or you can say application of circular linked list. Okay, so I have just given you the idea. You can try to implement this. This is one, you can say, home task. Try to solve this Josephus problem. So what you have to do, first you have to create the circular linked list. Then from user you have to take some starting point. Then from that starting point you have to start counting, and whenever your count is fulfilled, you have to delete that particular node. And in this way, when there is only one node left, you have to stop, and that node will be declared as the winner node. Okay. So this is called Josephus problem, an example, or you can say application of circular linked list. Okay. Now we are moving to our next linked list, which is doubly linked list. Doubly linked list. Now we have already discussed that there are three types of linked list. One is linear, another is circular, then the doubly linked list. The name doubly linked list is due to two link pointers, present in each node, and this doubly linked list is basically used to traverse the linked list in forward as well as backward direction. This is used to traverse the linked list in forward and backward direction. Okay. Traverse the linked list in forward and backward direction. If you see the linear linked list, there is only forward movement. In case of circular linked list, it is always having a clockwise movement. Okay, so this doubly linked list with two different address pointers like this, one data part, one link part for backward direction, another link part for forward direction. So we can say this is next pointer or next node pointer, this is previous node pointer, and this is the data part. Okay, again in case of this doubly linked list, there are again two types. One is linear doubly linked list, and there is another which is called circular doubly linked list. If you remember, the pictures of these two is like this. Suppose I have a doubly linked list, linear doubly linked list of three nodes, then the picture will be like this. Suppose the data is 3, 5, 7, then the picture will be like this. This one null, this one pointing to this node, this one pointing to this node, this one pointing to this node, this one pointing to this node. This is again null, and this is head pointer. Okay, and there must be another end pointer. This end pointer will use to traverse in backward direction, and this head pointer will be used to traverse in forward direction. Okay, now tell me, if I want to insert a new element, suppose this is the new element NW. Okay, suppose this is 10. How many address I have to modify? How many addresses we have to modify? Please tell me. কটা address এখানে modify করতে হবে?
4 addresses.
কোন কেসে?
Sir, except front and end.
আচ্ছা, তাহলে দেখে নিই। যদি মাঝখানে কোনো বলছো তাহলে 4 addresses। ঠিক আছে, আমরা let us check. Suppose I want to insert this new node 10 in between 3 and 5. Okay, so then this will point this. Okay, sorry, this is a 10 means there is another pointer like this. Okay, sorry, this is also null. This is a doubly linked list, na? So picture will be like this. So this is also null. Okay, so this will point to this, and this will point to this. Clear? Then this will point to this, and this will point to this. So we have to modify 4 addresses if we insert at any position. If I insert the new node at the front position, what we have to do? Picture is like this. There is one null pointer, another null pointer, the data. So this head will point to this node. This will point to this node. Sorry, this is the null. It will be null. This will point to this node, and this will point to this node. So I have to modify 3 addresses. Similarly, if I want to insert at the end position like this, then this will point to this node, this will point to this node, this is same like null, and end will be modified. So again 3 address changes. Okay, so in any position insertion it is 4. So you can say that in general cases we have to maximum how many address we have to modify? You have to modify maximum 4 addresses. Okay, if it is a circular, then draw the picture and try to understand whatever address we have to modify. If I insert at the front, we have to modify the head as well as we have to modify the link part of the end. And the address of this two. So in case of circular linked list, it is always 4 address changes in all the cases. If it is a circular doubly linked list, then there will be 4 address changes in all the cases. See, if it is a circular linked list like this, one node, I'm drawing a 2 node structure. This is head, okay, and this is end, okay. Then this is pointing to this, this is pointing to this, this is pointing to this, and this is pointing to this. Now I am adding a new node, this one, okay. So if I add this at the front here, what we have to do, each will point this, okay, this will point to the next, this will point to the end, and this end will be modified, and this will point to this. If I insert in between, this will point this, this will point this, this will point this, and this one will point this. If I insert at the end, then this will point this, this will point this, this will point this, and this will point the front. Okay, so in all the cases, in case of circular doubly linked list, in all the cases, maximum or all the cases at insertion, we required address changes of 4. So we are not going too much in this doubly linked list because this is only for theoretical purpose. No need to go for the implementation. So with this, linked list is now covered. So we are now moving to our next topic. So before going to the next topic, if you have any query regarding this linked list, you can ask me. Otherwise, I will move to the next topic. Any query? Okay, so no query. So I'm moving to our next data structure. It is stack data structure. So far we have discussed array and linked list. We have seen what are the advantages of linked list, what are the drawbacks of linked list, and remember this array and linked list both can be used to implement any other data structure, whether it is linear or non-linear. This array and linked list will be used to represent any other data structure. Okay, so the first new data structure that we will discuss, there is stack. The picture of the stack is like this. One end of the stack is always closed, another end is open. So whatever operation we will do in the stack, that is insertion or deletion, that will be done from one end. Okay, and that's why the stack is sometimes called last in first out or first in last out. It means if I insert some element in the stack, suppose I am going to insert say first x, then y, then z. If I put x here, x will come into this position, y will come into this position, z will come into this position. The same thing is used in our compiler. Whenever we declare our variable like this x, y, z, suppose I have declared 3 different integer variables x, y, z. Remember, this type of variables will be allocated in our stack memory. In our stack memory, which is assigned for the C compiler which is assigned for the C compiler in our RAM. Okay, in RAM for C some different types of memories will be assigned. One is called stack memory, one is called heap memory. You have heard heap memory. Through for dynamic memory allocation we normally use this heap memory. There is one part which is called static memory. Okay, there is another part which is called constant memory. Okay, and there is another part where we store whatever we are writing in text form, the C program, the C code that will stored in this memory. So our C memory in RAM will be divided into these parts with different types of parts. And normally whatever variable we declare, some array, all these things will be allocated in a stack. So if I initialize, suppose I am initializing x, y, z, three different variables, and if I print the addresses of these variables, if I print the address, how to print the address always unsigned integer and ampersand x, then the address of say y, %u ampersand y, and then printf %u ampersand z. Okay, so if I print the addresses, if suppose this one, the address of x is say 402, suppose let us assume that the address which is printed by ampersand x is like this, then remember the address of y will be 400 and the address of z will be 398, considering that integer is of 2 bytes. Integer is of 2 bytes. So see why the address value, normally what is our assumption, the address value for x, and then when we assign address value of y, it should be increased because we are declaring y after x. So if x is assigned at address location 400, then it is our assumption that z will be greater than this, and sorry, y and z will be more than this, like this. That is our assumption because we are assigning these three different variables in our RAM memory. So if the address of x is 400, then the y should be greater than this and z should be greater than this, but it is in reverse order. Why? Because it is put in a stack. So if this is 400, obviously the above this it will be less than. If this is 402, this is less than, so this is 400 and this is 398. From this address value we can also understand that whatever variable we declare in our program, that will be initialized or that will be stored in a stack. That's why the address values are in this way. Otherwise the normal way should be like this. The value of address of y should be greater than address of x and address of z should be greater than address of y. But it is in reverse order. Why? Because it is stored in a stack. Okay, so then when we delete them, then first we have to delete the z, otherwise we cannot reach x. So the first element inserted is this one and this is the last inserted element. So we can say that last in first out, it means this is the last element we have inserted, this will be first out. Similarly, this is the first element we have inserted, x, and this becomes the last element that we'll take out from the stack. So we can say this is last in first out or first in last out. Okay, now the main thing of this data structure is its application. Where we should go or why should we require this type of data structure? So we must have to understand the application of this data structure. The first application of stack data structure is to store functions and local variables. This is the first task. Whatever function we call recursive or any, it will be stored in a stack. Okay. Number two, this is very important. If I want to make anything in a reverse order, then stack is very useful. See, I have entered them in a order X, then Y, then Z, and the order they are out, it is Z, then Y, then X. It means it is totally in reverse order. So if we want to make anything in a reverse order, then this is very useful data structure. The third thing, the most important, infix to postfix conversion. Now the question is, what is the meaning of infix and what is the meaning of postfix? Then there is another interesting application which is called evolution of postfix expression. This is another important task. Okay. Then another important task of application of stack is checking parentheses. This is done, actually this is used by the compiler. So if you make any parenthesis wrong, curly braces or first bracket, if you make anything wrong in your program, when you compile the code, it will show statement missing, bracket missing. So how it is checking whether bracket is in order or not? Using a stack. So checking parentheses. So these are the different tasks which is done or where we can apply stack data structure to store functions, whatever function it is. It may be recursive one. You can use stack, and to make anything in reverse order, to convert an infix to its postfix expression, evolution of postfix expression, checking parentheses. In all these cases, we use stack data structure. Okay, now try to understand what is the meaning of this expression, infix, postfix. What is the meaning of this? This is very interesting. You see, suppose I am writing a simple thing, 2 plus 3 into 5. Okay. Now, how this will be executed? That is very easy to understand. If we know the BODMAS rule. If we know the BODMAS rule, then it is very easy to understand that first we have to perform the multiplication, then we have to add. So the final result will be like this. Now the question is, this is very easy to implement BODMAS rule in a software. It is very easy. But when we are giving some value and then we are performing some operation, mathematical operation, then we are not using some software, we are using some hardware. Remember this. All this operation will be done in ALU, arithmetic logic unit, so which is a hardware device. So how to implement BODMAS in a hardware? That is very difficult. Okay. So now, if we write anything in this form, this is called infix. Why this is called infix? This is called infix because these are called operand. These are called operands, and this is called operator. Okay. So if operator in between operands, then it is called infix. Again, if operator in between operands, then it is called infix. It means the expression is infix or postfix or prefix. It depends on operator position. Operator's position. If operator in between, then it is infix. If the operator is before the operands, then it is prefix. Okay. If operator is after the operands, or you can say post, then it is called postfix. So based on the operator position, we are telling that any mathematical expression can be represented as infix, prefix, or postfix. So obviously this is one kind of infix expression, and we are very familiar with infix expression. But if we provide this infix expression to the compiler, to the our computer, then it will be performed in the hardware or in ALU. So where we cannot implement the BODMAS rule, we can easily implement the BODMAS rule in our software, but it is very difficult to implement because the BODMAS rule is nothing but set of instructions, but it is very difficult to implement it in hardware. But just see, if I convert this infix into a postfix expression, if I convert using some mechanism, and the postfix expression will be like this. Postfix means operator is after the operand. Okay, so it will look like this: 2, then 3, then 5, then into, then plus. This is the postfix expression for this infix expression, remember. Okay, now see, if I have this if I have this postfix expression, I can easily calculate the final result without implementing any BODMAS rule. Only using the stack data structure, we can easily perform this operation. Just try to understand. Okay, so the logic is like this: if there is any operand, then the logic is insert it into the stack. Normally the insertion operation in stack is called push operation, and the deletion operation is called the pop operation. Okay, so if operand push means insert, so first is 2, so I will insert it. Then 3 operand, insert. 5 operand, push, insert. Okay, when operator, if operator, then what to do? Repeatedly pop 2 operands. Okay, what you have to do, if any operator is encountered, so you are reading this postfix expression from left to right like this, one after another. If operand, you are pushing it inside the stack. If operator, what you are doing, you are repeatedly pop 2 operands. So which 2 will be popped? Obviously 5 and 3. Suppose this is operand 1, where I will put 5, and this is operand 2, where I will put 3. Okay, these 2 operands are popped. Then what you have to do, you have to perform the operation OP2 operator OP1. You have to perform this particular operation. OP2 operator OP1. What is in OP2? In OP2 there is 3. What is in OP1? 5. What is this operator value? The operator value is, we have encountered is into. So we will perform this operation. What is the value? 15, and push the result. So these 2 are already popped, and now the result is pushed. Okay, so I have encountered up to this star. Now next again I am encountering another operator. So what is the logic? If operator, we have to repeatedly pop 2 operands. First operand 15, second operand 2, these 2 are popped. Then we have to perform the operation like this: operator 2 operand. So operand 2 is 2, operand 1 is 15, and what is in the operator symbol? Plus. So I will add this 2, and the result is 17. This will be pushed. So 17. So finally 17 is stored inside the stack. So this is the result. This is the result. See, here we don't need to remember which operator having the precedence. We don't need to remember the BODMAS rule. Only what we have to do, we have to push and pop. We have to push and pop. Only these two operation is enough to calculate the result. It means no need of any software to implement the BODMAS rule. We are just using the stack data structure to evaluate the postfix expression. So that's why postfix expression, or sometimes called prefix, same, postfix or prefix, these two expressions are very important in case of hardware implementation. Okay, so that's why the first task that is performed by stack is infix to postfix conversion, and the evolution of postfix, which I have just shown you. These two tasks both done by the stack data structure. Okay, this infix to postfix is a different thing. I will discuss it in next class. Now, so these are the different application of stack. Now we will try to understand how to implement stack. Implementation of stack. We will discuss both the implementation of array and linked list. Okay, how to implement stack using array. So this is our array. Clear? Now better you represent or draw the array in a vertical structure rather than the horizontal structure, because it become easier to understand in vertical structure, because stack is like this. So if this is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 index value, so I am naming it in this form: 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. These are the index values. Okay, so this is my array. Okay, now the first element that I will insert, that will be inserted in this position. Okay, a of 0 position, then the next in this position, then in this position. Okay, so to maintain which is the last element, we have to use one pointer or index variable which is called top. Okay, sometimes called stack top. Okay, so top is one pointer variable, you can say, in case of linked list, or a index variable. So in which value I should initialize it? I should initialize it either 0 or -1. Okay, now see, if I am going to implement stack using array, there is always a limitation of size, because array is of fixed size, correct? Array is of fixed size, so there is always a limitation when we are going to insert a new element. So you have to check the full or overflow condition. Okay, similarly, whenever there is a deletion, we have to check empty or underflow condition. But in case of linked list, since it is dynamic, the size is not fixed, so there is no need to check the full or overflow condition. Okay, so there are two different operations. One is insertion, another is deletion. So normally insertion is called push operation and deletion is called the pop operation. So how to implement push operation? When you are pushing any new element inside a stack, it will be like this: a top, because top is taking care of what is the last element inserted. So we will insert new element in this position, and then top will be increased by one value. So first you have to initialize top with some value. Suppose I have initialized top with a value -1. It is a normal practice. Top is initialized with -1. Then when I am inserting at a of 0, then first you have to increase the value of top equal to top plus 1. Then we can insert the new element. Okay, if we initialize top with -1, Now if I initialize top with 0, then it will be written like this: a top equal to x, then top will be increased. Okay, hence in this case top is initialized with 0. So it depends on you how you want to implement. So normally this is pre-increment of top and this is post-increment of top. So this can be rewritten like this also: plus plus top equal to x, and this can be rewritten like this: a top plus plus post-increment like this. So this is for push operation if I want to insert any new element. Okay, but since we have to take care of the overflow condition, so what is the overflow condition? If somehow top reach at the maximum size, if somehow top reaches at the maximum size of the array, then we have to stop. So finally the push operation will look like this: if top is greater than equal to max size minus 1, this is the maximum size is how many elements, so this is the index value, then we have to printf stack is full or overflow. So this is the overflow condition. Else means it is okay, then what we will do, we will write it like this: normally pre-increment of top x. So this is your push operation, okay, with top initialized with -1 with this value. If you initialize top with 0, you have to modify this part. Okay, so this is the push operation if I want to insert. Similarly, so if this is a stack of 3 elements, if I insert a push, then it will look like this: a. Then if I again push b, it will look like this. Okay, clear? Now there is another operation like deletion. So when we delete, the value of top will be decreased. That's only, nothing else, because top is always pointing to the last inserted element. Na? See the picture. Suppose I have a stack of say 4 elements: 0, 1, 2, 3. Top is in -1. So if I insert a, first top plus plus, top will come into this position. Okay, and a will be inserted. Then if I insert b, top plus plus, first pre-increment, top will come into this position, b is inserted. Then I insert c, top plus plus, top will come into this position, c will be inserted. Then again if I insert d, top plus plus, top will point to this position and d will be inserted. So top is always pointing to the last inserted element. Clear? So if I delete, only what I will do, I will point to the previous element, means top minus minus. That's all. Okay. So we already know that in case of array deletion, there will be no deletion. Actually, we are just overwriting that position. So here we are just going to the previous element. Now, how to display the elements? It is obvious that we will start from 0 and we will print up to top. Okay. So this will give us the display operation. So only a few seconds left. So please rejoin. So how to write the deletion function? Again, in case